Tonight on To The Point, more than 1,600 journalists have been killed globally since the year 1993. UNESCO further says that between the years 2020 and 2021, a total 117 journalists were murdered. So tonight, we discuss the safety of the messenger, the safety of journalists, the safety of my colleagues and I. That's a conversation we shall have later on in this broadcast, but first, the highlights. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua denies reports of bad blood between himself and the president, further distancing himself from the kingpin debate.
There will be no conflict in the government of President William Ruto.
Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro rated the best MP in the country in Infotrack's latest report, with MPs from Eastern Region appearing to be the best performing MPs in the country. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has come under fire over his handling of conflict in the North Rift region. And on To The Point, we discuss the safety of the messenger. Did you know that since 1993, more than 1,600 journalists have been killed for simply reporting the news? Welcome to the broadcast. We invite you to engage with us on our social media handles at TV47 News on X, at TV47 Kenya on Facebook. My X handle is at Grace Courier KE. Once again, welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Rhoda Nyamai, and my name is Grace Courier Kanja. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has dismissed claims of a possible fallout with President William Ruto. At the same time, the DP sent a warning to unnamed quarters of what he termed as a systematic effort to undermine the state. Further, the DP distanced himself from the so-called kingpin politics, stressing that his main focus is serving as the president's principal assistant. Moiga William kicks us off tonight.
Sunday, Kiambu played host to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who attended a church service accompanied by a section of leaders drawn from the county and the Kenya Kwanza political outfit. Mount Kenya politics dominating speeches delivered by the invited guest. The Deputy President, taking to the podium, did not hold back his frustrations over claims of a divided presidency.
I want to tell our detractors, I know most of you are very disappointed when the president won, because you had really tried to stop him. And you had every hope that he'll fail. And he's succeeding. You now think there can be a conflict. I want to assure you, there will be no conflict in the government of President William Ruto. It will not happen.
Gachagua, dismissing being haunted by the ghost of occupying the second-in-command office, defended President William Ruto, stating that Ruto could not subject him to humiliation he endured in the previous Uhuru Kenyatta-led Jubilee administration.
When you have a boss who has no inferiority complex, you succeed. President William Ruto will never feel threatened by my activities because he is qualified, he is competent, and he has confidence that he is there. So anatukubalia tufanye kazi.
The kingship debate started by President Ruto during the 4-day state visit of the King and Queen of United Kingdom did not escape the Deputy President, who was quick to dismiss any interest in such position following a raging debate who to take over the Mount Kenya region leadership. Gachagua insisting he already has a job being the Deputy President.
There are people who want to that office. I'm not part of it because maybe I'm Deputy President. My office is in Harambee House, na igine iko Karen, and there is a salary, and there is a job to do.
Leaders accompanying Gachagua, led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, rallied Mount Kenya to support the efforts of Gachagua in offering leadership in the vote-rich region.
Let us have respect for each other. Let us have respect for our president as our leader.
If we choose to use this opportunity to shadow box between ourselves, to promote small conflict between ourselves, that will be the spectacle of the country, then we can only blame ourselves.
Moiga William, TV47.
Thank you, Moige William, for that. Moving on, and President William Ruto is calling on you to take advantage of government projects to improve your life, even as he asked Kenyans to consider the government's efforts to improve the quality of life, even in the face of the global economic challenges that lead to high cost of living. Speaking in Mombasa when he attended an interdenominational Thanksgiving service, the president also took time to address concerns over the privatization of the port in Mombasa.
On the final leg of his development tour in the coastal region, the president maintains that the government's plan to improve the lives of Kenyans are on the right track, and that what remains is the contribution of Kenyans to realize it.
Mkenya ni lazima ujihusishe na ujipange na miradi haya. Tuko na miradi ya uvuvi, tuko na miradi ya kilimo, tuko na miradi ya bandari, tuko na miradi ya masomo. Ujipange na sekta moja ndio uweze kutoa mchango wako, aidha kwa kufanya kazi, kwa kufanya biashara, kwa sababu Kenya kusonga mbele itagharimu kila Mkenya kutoa mchango wake.
The president takes pride over various projects being launched across the country, noting the jobs created by the projects, urging Kenyans to take up value addition and refrain complaining about the high cost of living, which is extreme all over the world.
Najua kuna watu mashujaa wa kulalamika, hii haijafanyika, ila haijafanyika, hii bado, na wewe hakuna mahali umechangia.
On the port privatization debate, President Ruto clears the air that parts of the port will not be privatized but handed over to private investors for a certain period of time in order to develop and strengthen services with other areas in the country.
Yale mpango ya zamani ya privatization na kubinafsisha port haitafanyika chini ya uongozi ya serikali mimi naongoza. Lakini kurudisha port operations peke yake hapa haitoshi. We need a whole port development plan. Na ndio sababu tumetangaza vile tutakuwa na concession, vile tutajumuisha port ya Mombasa na the rest of the hinterland all the way mpaka Kisangani kule DRC. Tutaiunganisha port yetu ya Mombasa kupitia Nairobi, Naivasha, tujenge big industrial park so that some of the items badala ya bogi kurudi bila mzigo, pia tulete bidhaa kutoka huko ambazo tutatumia to increase the capacity of the port to export so that we can make more money.
Leaders from the coastal counties led by Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad Nasir had earlier opposed the plans to privatize the port of Mombasa. President Ruto will complete his coastal tour tomorrow after launching different projects in Kwale and Kilifi counties. Paul Munio, TV47, Mombasa.
Thank you, Paul Muniu, for that. Now, Infotrack's latest report on the performance of Kenyan MPs is out. In it, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro is leading in the rankings with 70%, closely followed by Kangema MP Peter Irongo, who has 68%. Overall, members of Parliament from Eastern Kenya are leading in performance across the country. Vera Alberta with more.
Infotrack's latest report on the performance of MPs across the country shows Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro as the best performing MP with a rating of 70%. Nyoro is closely followed by Kangema MP Peter Irungu with a 68% rating, and a third place tie between MPs from Igembe South, Mwingi Central, Kwisero, Kathiani and Homa Bay Town with 66%. The ranking for the top 10 female MPs is led by Naisula Lesuda of Samburu West with 63%, Millie Odhiambo of Suba North with 60%, Wanjuku Muhia of Kipipiri with 59%, and others. Among the top 10 MPs who have shown improved performance are Peter Irungu of Kangema, who has taken second place from 289th place, and those of Molo, Othaya, Suba North, Sotik, Kitutu Masaba, Rangwe, North Imenti, Keyo South, and Victor Koech of Chipalungu coming in at 10th place. In general, the members of parliament in Eastern Kenya have shown the best performance with 56%, together with those in Central. Nyanza and the Western MPs are following with 55%, while Rift Valley MPs are 54%, followed by those in the coastal region with 53%. Those in Nairobi have 51% and Northeastern with 49%.
Thank you, Vera Alberta, for that. Now, political leaders from West Pokot and Kirinyaga counties have issued a stern warning to Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki over what they term as a divide-and-rule approach to dealing with insecurity in the North Rift region. Last week, 3 lawmakers from North Rift were summoned by the Rift Valley Regional Directorate of Criminal Investigation to write statements over the security situation in Kerio Valley.
The move by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki to issue a stern warning to North Rift leaders over the insecurity situation along the Kerio Valley belt has elicited mixed reactions among local leaders from West Pokot County, now accusing CS Kindiki of using what they termed as using a divide-and-rule method. Last week, Sigo Member of Parliament Peter Lochakapong, Tiati's William Kamket and West Pokot Senator Julius Mugor were summoned by the North Rift Regional Directorate of Criminal Investigation Officers in Nakuru over the insecurity situation in the Kerio Valley, a move that did not sit well with the other local leaders.
It is unfortunate that last week, the member of parliament for Sigor, for Tiati East, and the Senator Murgur were summoned to write statements in the regional office in Nakuru over nothing. But the same government of Kenya, the same DCI, when a Turkana speaks a lot of hate, speaks a lot of division, inciting people, the same people, we don't see them summoning those Turkana leaders to write statements.
Kwa hivyo nataka niambie Waziri Kindiki ambaye anasema yeye ni mtu lawyer, anaelewa sheria ina namna gani. Huwezi kufanya peke yake na askari na nini maskari atione anaweza kuongea nao bila wenyewe. Ana asifiwe.
Elsewhere, political leaders from Kirinyaga have issued a 3-day ultimatum to Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki to take action against Mwea East DCI officers who are allegedly colluding with surveyors in grabbing land in the disputed 17,000 acres of South Ngariama Ranch in Mwea East Sub-County.
Tumewapatia notice ya siku 3. Kama serikali hawatatoa, sisi wenyewe na wananchi tutaenda kuwatoa mara moja.
Led by Kirinyaga Central Member of Parliament Gashoki Gitari and Kirinyaga Majority Leader Muridhi Kibinga, the leaders have accused the officers for aiding the said surveyor to continue with illegal land transactions across the scheme where residents have been waiting for the title deeds since 2009. Speaking during a meeting with South Ngariama residents at Gold Trading Center, Gitari said that the said surveyor has grabbed over 200 acres from residents, threatening that he will lead a protest if action is not taken against the said police officers.
Kama kuna mtu ameondolewa katika shamba lake, tunaomba serikali irudishe, tuko na chief hapa, turudishe hawa watu kwa mashamba yao, na sisi kama viongozi tutawasimamia kila mtu.
Hiyo ndio tunasema kama wakaaji wa South Ngariama tumekataa katakata. Na tumesema kuanzia saa hii lazima atoke South Ngariama.
Lulu Baithalu, TV47.
Right, thanks for that. Let's move on. Parliamentary Budget Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro has assured Kenyans that the economy is stabilizing and that the policies and measures taken by the Kenya Kwanza government have started bearing fruits and things will be easier for Kenyans. Speaking at St. Joseph Mumbi Catholic Church, where he had graced a fundraiser, Ndindi called for patience from the public as things fall into place. He pointed out that the inflation in the country is below 7%, which indicates the economy of the country is still stable and thus no cause for alarm.
Kwa hivyo mimi nauliza Wakenya wote, najua kumekuwa na uhuru kidogo wa uchumi, lakini hata sisi ni Wakenya, hata tukiwaongoza, na tungetaka Kenya ambayo ni dhabiti. Na vile tumeona kama policy ile tuliweka ya food security is already bearing fruit. If you go to our supermarkets, the prices of Uga is now much lower. It is based on policy, opportunity meeting preparedness. We had the right policies, but God blessed us with rains. Now the prices of Uga are much lower than it was a year ago. Vile tumeona hiyo policy ya food security working, nataka nisisitiza Wakenya wote, even the other policies ambazo tumeweka, ambazo saa zingine zinastahili tuvute kama kidogo. Hata hizo vile tumeona food security policies are working, even those other ones, we know for sure they are going to work. In the first quarter of 2023 and the second quarter, Kenyan economy grew by 5.3%. Na ukiangalia katika nchi zote za ulimwengu, Kenya was actually the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. And I want to assure the Kenyan people, as the president comes to address the nation on Thursday, Kenya is on the right trajectory. Kenyan economy will be an economy that other economies will come to learn about how to run economies here. And I'm sure about that.
Now, this next one is a beautiful one because there was pomp and color on Saturday as a woman who suffered from fistula for more than 40 years celebrated her healing and the renewal of her vows in the same ceremony. Mary Wambua renewed marriage vows with Cosmas Wambua at Mwani Catholic Church in Makueni County in a move calculated to open a new chapter in their lives. Chichi Josephine tells us more.
Yeah. Mary Wambua is a happy woman. Watching her smile freely as she says, yes, I do want her special day. It is hard to imagine that for 40 years, Mary has endured a dark and heavy burden. The mother of two from Makueni County has suffered urinary incontinence from fistula, a condition that had eroded her dignity, almost turning her into a recluse.
Mimi nilikuwa nimehangaika sana kwa hiyo ugonjwa lakini sasa nikafikia kupata matibabu nikapona.
On Saturday, however, it was pomp and color at Mwani Catholic Church in Makueni County as Mary and her husband Cosmas Wambua renewed their marriage vows, a fitting start to a new chapter in their life. Beneath her radiance, though, lies the memory of a tough medical journey that she had to endure since joining school. Her inability to hold urine made her the laughingstock in the community.
Mzee wangu nakwambia ni asante, nimefurahia sana kwa ile usaidizi yote ulikuwa unanipea. Hiyo miaka yote tumekaa na wewe na unjanitoroka na unjanichukia.
Watu wamesoma kitu kama kuna mtu ana ugonjwa kama huo anaweza enda atibiwe.
This trouble persisted until March this year when she was treated at a new fistula unit set up in Makueni County Referral Hospital.
Sasa nasema wenye wanaongopa ama wenye wanajifungia kwa nyumba wanjitokeze waende Makueni Hospital.
Mary's triumph over fistula is one of many inspiring stories across Makueni County after the county government introduced fistula care services at the Mother and Child Hospital early this year.
And today we are witnessing that part of social reintegration and rehabilitation of our clients.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Thank you so much, Chichi Josephine, for that. Let's move on. In a section of Azimio MPs from the Western region have challenged President William Ruto to come clear on the type of jobs he claims to have found abroad for Kenyans. Speaking during a Sunday service at Sisenyi Catholic Church in Budalangi constituency in Busia County, the MPs are now urging the Kenya Kwanza government instead to create job opportunities in the country as they had promised Kenyans during the campaign period.
President William Ruto's recent remarks that he has secured job opportunities abroad for Kenyans have received mixed reactions in the country. A section of Azimio leaders from Western region have rubbished the move, stating that there are so many Kenyan families that have lost their loved ones abroad in search of employment.
Alituambia atacreate kazi Kenya, Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto, kwa heshima. Kazi ulisema watoto wetu wanatoka, wanahitimu kila usiku na mchana kutoka colleges zetu, wataenda wapi? Mara umesema Ujerumani iko kazi, mara unasema Saudi Arabia iko kazi. Kazi gani?
Ukiambia tuzizi wewe umepata kazi 1,100
50,000, 3,000 watu waende. Wanaenda kuwa maid. Hiyo kazi ya nje ndio watoto wetu wanakufia huko. Wanarudi kama wako kwa sanduku na walienda wakiwa wazima. Hiyo kazi ya slave trade tulimalizana nayo.
They have instead called upon President William Ruto and his government to create job opportunities in the country as promised to Kenyans during campaign trails. The leaders are now urging the responsible agencies to probe into the recent revelations by Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango on how the National Treasury over-budgeted her salary by 3 times, overburdening the taxpayers.
Kwa Control of Budget vile amesema, mtu unakula mshahara 50,000, kumbe wali budget wewe unakula mshahara 1,300. Na wewe mjuu. Na hiyo yote ni wizi. Unaona watu wa Kenya tunahangaika. Tukiacha tu corruption hivi, utaona hii nchi kila mtu akifurahi. Kwa hivyo sisi hatupingi tu eti tunapinga. Tunataka vitu zifanyike ndio nyinyi mpate faida.
We cannot sit and allow him to eat that cake na watu wawili peke yao. Mimi mheshimiwa hapo nami nitanyemelea hata kama mimi ni mtoto ya baba. Nitakuwa kama ile panya nimekuwa kwa kanisa father alikuwa anasema mpaka nikule kidogo niletee watu yangu.
The leaders have condemned the move by the national government to reduce capitation for secondary school students, saying that many poor students will drop out of school in the near future.
Maneno ya Kenya imekuwa ngumu. Kila sector, not one sector is working. Kama ni elimu imeanguka, mimi niko kwa sekta ya elimu. Tulikuwa na free education ya Mwai Kibaki, sasa anatoka. Tukakuja na free secondary day education ya Uhuru Kenyatta, sasa Ruto anatoa.
Wanji Sustin, TV47.
Thank you, Andrew Sostin, for that. Now, the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, yesterday reconciled Kisii Governor Simba Arati and Kisii Senator Richard Onyonka, ending their long-standing differences. He reminded the duo they were elected through ODM and have to work together to benefit residents. The Speaker, who witnessed the duo's handshake, warned the two leaders over the consequence of their wrangles to the public.
Maisha imekuwa ngumu. Maisha, imagine hapa ni nyumbani, mtu mahali anaingia shambani, anatoa chakula, lakini life is becoming difficult. Nilienda juzi hapo hospitalini, napata watu wamekuliwa kwa siako. Imagine ni Kisii. Tunaomba serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, tax chama tukufu cha kitaifa, hiyo yote sisi tuko watu wamoja, na hao watu wote ni watu wangu.
Bwana Arati and your whole county, vile umesema, tuunge serikali ya William Ruto mkono, tufanye kazi pamoja. Wewe kama governor mnapata 20% ya mapato ya umma. 80% iko wapi? Nairobi. Msipofanya urafiki, what you need here is also needed in Nyamira, is also needed in Migori, is also needed in Narok. It's a question of priority. Na mara mingi mbwa inakimbilia kule inapewa chakula. Kule inapigwa haiwezi kuingia.
Right, and travelers from Mwingi Central and Nguni heading to New Market were stranded for almost 8 hours at the flooded banks of the infamous River Nzi, waiting for the water levels to reduce so that they may cross. Now, following a heavy downpour, the Nzi bridge is, however, yet to be constructed, despite the danger it poses to residents during every rainy season. So far, more than 50 lives have been lost in the river in the past 5 years. Residents could not hide their disappointment over the current state of affairs, despite the promises made by the national government and local leaders year in, year out.
Kwa majina naitwa Daniel Nico David, mkaaji wa hapa Nguni, na mimi ndio chairman wa mabaharia wa hapa. Tumekuwa tukisumbuka sana na hii mto. Kwa sasa hii tuko hapa mto Enzio, na tumekuwa tukisumbuka sana muda mrefu sana. Na serikali imekuwa ikiwaahidi kwamba tutatujengea bridge. Na kwa sasa venye unaona bridge ilianza kujengwa, tuliambiwa itajengwa kwa mwaka moja, na sasa ni mwaka wa pili unaenda kuisha na bado haiko karibu kuisha. Wamekuwa wakikufia hapa kwa hii maji. kwa hii mto.
Na leo watu
na leo tangu asubuhi kumekuwa na maji, mto ulikuwa umefurika. Na tumekuja hapa asubuhi kuokoa watu.
Tunaomba hii daraja ijengwe kwa haraka. Kwa sababu mto imekula watu wengi sana. Na sisi tunasikianga mbaya sana wakati inabeba gari hadi pikipiki.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the Home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai. John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa we could get money to pay our rent, pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
you respect people.
Dari ya mfahamu kiongozi, story na historia, na mi Elizabeth Mutuku.
Kwa mirindimo kemkem ya michezo, mahojiano ya kipekee na mabingwa wetu, makala ya kuvutia pamoja na matukio mubashara viwanjani. Shabiki, tutapiga mbizi katika kila kiwanja, ndani na hata nje ya nchi. Mtazamaji, uko tayari? ni kazi michezoni ama michezo kazini? Ungana nami Ahmed Bahaj, sajili mpya nimefika katika kipindi cha kipekee Mchaka Mchaka. Zitatoka cheche, tutapiga mstari chini yake. Si bora michezo, ni michezo kwa ubora wake. Mcheche.
They say money makes the world go round. So let's slow things down a bit. Put things in perspective. From the markets to the streets to the stocks, we make the complex comprehensible. Join me, Hibak Said, on TV47 Business News for market insights like never before.
What's making the headlines? What does it mean to you? How does it affect you? We answer all these questions every Sunday for half an hour on To The Point Show. Hey, I'm Grace Kuriakanja, and a lot has happened this week. Let's dive into it.
Wanasema wasemao kuwa elimu ni bahari haishi kwa kuchotwa. Wakati mwingi natangamana na wanafunzi madarasani, sio kama mwalimu bali kama nahodha kwenye kipindi cha tasnia ya elimu. Na iwapo utanikosa madarasani, basi utanipata nyanjani nikisaka habari zenye usawa, ufasaha na ukweli. Na iwapo utanikosa nyanjani, bila shaka utanipata studioni hapa nikisoma habari na kuendesha mijadala mikomavu. Mimi ni Andrin Kilemi, mpenzi wa lugha ya Kiswahili na elimu kwa jumla.
Well, if it is happening, then we are definitely talking about it on TV47's Disruptive Friday. Don't miss a moment on the most technological and disruptive moment on TV.
From groundbreaking AI breakthroughs to the latest ingenious innovations, we have it all covered for you. Get ready to see the future unfold right in front of your eyes. My name is Eric Munene.
And my name is Linda Alala, and we not promise nothing short of great news experience.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Time now for To The Point. And like I said before, our conversation tonight is on the safety of journalists with my guests, Victor Bwere, Director, Media Training and Development, MCK, Akela Odonyo, Secretary General, Crime Journalists Association of Kenya. Like I said, we shall be joined by Isaiah Gwengi, who is a journalist from Standard Media Group, Kelechi Emekalam, a journalist in Nigeria, and Kanari Mugume, a journalist from Uganda. But straight on to the point. And tonight we discuss the safety of the messenger, the safety of my colleagues and I, the safety of journalists. Now, this day, which is the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, it was celebrated or commemorated on November the 2nd. Of course, this is our discussion tonight. And Let's get some history. So the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the day to be marked on November 2nd. Now, the date was chosen in commemoration of the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali on 2nd November 2013. The resolution urged member states to implement definite measures countering the present culture of impunity. Let's take a look at the theme. And this year's theme at the 2023 observance seeks to raise awareness of the main challenges faced by journalists and communicators in the exercise of their profession and to warn of the escalation of violence against and repression against them. Let's talk numbers now, which, like I always say, they never lie. Now listen to this. Since the year 1993, more than 1,600 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and bringing information to the public. In 9 out of 10 cases, the killers go unpunished. In fact, only 14% of cases of crimes against journalists are currently considered judicially resolved. Data from the last 10 years reveals that 893 journalists have been killed from around the world. Let's pause there, okay? At this point, I want to engage my guests, Mr. Victor Bwire and Madam Akelo Odonyo. Your reaction to this? I mean, this figure is disturbing. It's shocking. Who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Yeah, well, it is really, it's not as shocking as, it's not shocking for us journalists because having been in the field, you almost go through this.
We know what happens.
We know what happens, but really, we know that something needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about this? In 9 out of 10, that's 90%. The killers go unpunished.
Not even killers. Even in any kind of violations, there's barely any jurisprudence on cases against journalists. Either the prosecutors or the case just doesn't go through for many reasons. We'll talk about the reasons in the debate. Yeah.
Mr. Victor?
I mean, it's unprecedented, unacceptable. I mean, that such things are happening. Yet many of our countries talk about right to life, protection of safety, provision, creating jobs for people. Those statements, sometimes when you hear them, then you look at such statistics, then you're wondering, 9 out of 10 just means that none of the cases, nobody ever bothers about it. Yet some of even the prosecutors themselves, the judges, are covered by journalists. So in many of these things, and that's why the issue of impunity becomes a critical thing, that if people would do this to journalists who are seen to be fourth estate, who are seen to be enablers to access information, and people can do this to such a profession and nothing happens and it's usual, then it sends a very wrong message that then what our criminal justice system doing. And there are a number of protection, international, local, and regional protection mechanisms, laws, provisions that would obviously, and in fact, the worrying thing is most of these crimes against journalists are done by people who are known. Sometimes they are documented. So it's not any investigation that is complicated. Even now there's AI and you can use anything to trace some of these. Right. So that level of impunity worries people, and it's worrying, and we should be concerned about it, and not just as journalists, but as a country. We need just to look at this and get irritated and get annoyed.
Mm-hmm. You said no one ever bothers about this. Why?
If anybody bothered, then it wouldn't be talking about 9 out of 10. That tells you something.
Why do you think they don't bother?
And where I work,
care about us, about our safety?
I think the bigger issue, and I see because Media Council documents some of these cases, KUJ, KCA, and other people at Core 19. It's not that. And many of these cases, we put them. I think averaging every 2 weeks, we are writing a letter to the Inspector General of Police to investigate a case, at least relating to journalists, and nothing just happens. Letters are written where officers, maybe for example, security agencies have been involved to IPOA. Then sometimes the questions they ask you, they just discourage you from even pursuing. We have written to, and on the same day you are mentioning the 2nd of November, the DPP was the chief guest during the same event, and those statements we had them 3-4 years ago. We'll turn, no stone unturned, we'll do what. But we go back to the same thing. And in this country, it's a history. For the many years we have been here, there are only 4 successful prosecutions. One was Vincent Makori, who was tortured during Moi's time, Kanu, long time ago.
That's a long time.
And it even took years for him when he had been awarded some damages. It took years to be paid. And then there was Wallace Gachere and a special branch, again Moi's time, who again, a successful case, he was made to jump through a window by the special branch then. A case took so many years. Then we have 2 more cases, one in the Bondo, Siaya, where an OCS attacked a KNA and another staff. Then there are 2 cases in Busia where bodyguards or informal security agencies attached to then the former governor of Busia, Ojamong, attacked 2 journalists, Franklin Bwire, then by Citizen, and John Mond of Standard at that time. Those are the 4 only cases that are, but yet, like this year only, Media Council has documented nearly 100 and something cases. During the Maandamano, that just short period, we had 25 cases.
Yes.
Last year we had, I think, 90 cases. You know, these things are there, and some of them are written, documented with OB numbers, with evidence. Some of the journalists have even P3, they have been injured. Right now we are struggling with one, which everybody saw in Baringo, where, a DCI guy just, during Corona, I remember in the same Baringo, a DCI officer arresting and refusing on a camera for a journalist for a year. And nothing, and these cases are put internal police, but nothing happens.
Right. Okay, let's move on. And remember, these statistics are from, you can see it here, UNESCO, okay? That's the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. That is UNESCO. Now, more statistics, because UNESCO further says that 117 journalists were killed in 2020, between 2020 and 2021. The data shows that there are no safe spaces for journalists because 91 of the 117 journalists killed then were killed while away from their offices. Most killings occurred outside their newsrooms. Some journalists were murdered in the street or in their vehicles, and some were kidnapped and then found dead. Several were killed in front of their family members, including their children. Now, let's move on. And according to UNESCO still, in 2021, and this is at this point I'll engage Mara Makello, the percentage of women among all journalists killed almost doubled, rising to 11% from 6%. The previous year, available data as of 30th September 2022 showed that again, 11% of killings so far have been women journalists. And before, Akello, I get your thoughts on that, let's take a look at online violence, because women journalists are particularly impacted by threats and attacks, notably by those made online. According to UNESCO's discussion paper, The Chilling Global Trends in Online Violence Against Women Journalists, 73% of the women journalists surveyed said they had been threatened, intimidated, and insulted online in connection with their work. Why?
It is a case. Just the other day when there was a member of Cabinet Secretary lashing out at the media, we, the Crime Journalists Association of Kenya, released a statement, to just condemn the actions. And even with that, there was already people going online, and there were trolls, even, people talking about my person, and it was other people, even including people who are in the media. So you can really understand that journalists, especially women, are really targeted, and online, it gets worse because I don't know what it is about women that just motivates the perpetrators to just keep going. I think it is somewhere where they want you to give up, to just lose it, and it's crime.
Throw in the towel.
Yeah, just leave the thing and just continue or move on.
What's your experience like as a woman journalist?
Especially as a crime reporter, you're a first respondent, especially in the scenes of crime, and most of the time you will be experiencing these things firsthand. And sometimes you're likely to be the victim of harassment or intimidation when you just get to the ground. And even though we have these statistics that say at least 73%, I think the number is even way higher because a lot of people do not report. I personally did not even report. I just noted that, but I thought it's I can handle this. You know, sometimes you say, I can handle this. I don't need to take this anywhere. But I'm sure if everyone who has been violated was to speak up, this number would really go higher than that.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Let's come home now and take a look at some numbers from here. Kenya, okay? And we're really coming home because we start with your Home of Untold Stories. That is here, TV47. Now, earlier this year, during the anti-government protest held in the country, if you like, maandamano, a police officer fired a tear gas canister at TV47's cameraman John Nganga while covering the protest along Haile Selassie Avenue in Nairobi and injured him on the leg. Now, there's more. Because listen to this. On that same day, that is March 27th, a Maandamano Monday, like they were called, an NTV journalist reported being asked by police in Nairobi to delete photos from her phone. That's one. An NTV reporter ran into trouble with police officers at the KICC after they said they did not want the media around. 3 citizen reporters came under attack from knife-wielding gang in Kibra. There is more, guys. We're not done. A Nation.Africa journalist reported seeing a female Asian reporter being attacked by goons. On the very same day, a Nation.Africa correspondent in Kericho was attacked by goons in Kapsowit. An Africa Uncensored co-founder, that is John Allen Namu, reported that 2 of his colleagues were arrested by police in Mathare, and a freelance journalist said he was attacked by goons in Kibra. Very, very important to note, all these incidences happened in just one day. But listen to this. It did not stop there. It did not stop here, because 2 days later, on March 30th, a Maandamano Thursday, a police officer fired a tear gas canister at NTV cameraman Eric Isinta's face and wounded him. Standard journalist Timon Abuna was also wounded in the head. Now, that caused so much uproar from the media fraternity. It was heartbreaking, to say the least. Mr. Victor, this is what you were talking about?
Yes, and this happened, like some of these cases you are mentioning. You quickly see two trends. One is largely members of the public, much as we call them goons and what, but these are members of the public. That we are seeing trends where it's no longer now the state agents that are main perpetrators, but we see now goons who have been mobilized by either their supporters or who believe their people are under attack, and they attack, then they take law into their hand and attack. 2, in cases like where, for example, those 2 cases you are mentioning, letters were written to IPOA to take action against those officers who threw canisters directly, and obviously your gate is at mine, and that's what we are talking about, impunity. And sometimes even the questions you are asked even just discourages people from pursuing. It's just like, a bad example, but just like the rape case, where yes, we have desks in police stations and what, but sometimes when those things happen, do the same thing, that yes, people will follow, but the kind of questioning, the kind of information some of these institutions ask from you, they just discourage us from pursuing some of these matters, because it becomes a challenge. And Grace, these are not the first cases. There are quite. Francis Nyaruru was killed in 2009, a journalist in Kisii. Kitui in Eldoret, you remember? Those are cases. We had Brian Wesonga in Mombasa. We had another guy in Mombasa. So it's not, and all these cases, in fact, UNESCO Director General keeps writing to Kenya every year to ask the status. In the cases like John Kitui in Eldoret, even the person who was arrested with his phone was never questioned by the police. So it starts from the investigation, and that's why at the UN level they're talking about the 3 Ps: protection, promotion, and prosecution. And the weakest link is the prosecution. That prosecution, how they never find enough evidence even to take a person to charge. Remember, there's a case in Nakuru where a politician shot at journalists, and photos are there and everything. You remember, nothing happened up to date. And sometimes, okay, they give reasons, but the manner and yet even the UNESCO itself has prescribed, has taken prosecutors to training, judicial officers to training, to handle matters journalistic investigations. Because in a number of these cases, the threshold sometimes is like the ICC. The threshold is not like the criminal case, some of these things. Because if you look at the laws under journalistic privileges, when somebody denies a journalist information to do a story, you don't need him to have beaten him to establish what.
That's true.
So that reluctance and casual manner in which those cases are taken irritates and even discourage journalists from pursuing.
Right. Okay. So if you thought this was it, you have to tighten your belt because there's more. So just this past week, listen to this. Ken Ruto of NTV was in police custody at Kabarnet Police Station from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. after being verbally summoned by Baringo County detectives to record a statement over his coverage of the bandit attack at Kapindasum Primary School, Baringo South, last week. Okay? Let's take a look at some statistics from the Media Council of Kenya here, because MCK has documented 107 cases of freedom violations against the members of the Fourth Estate, that is us, since January 2023. And that is what Mr. Victor was talking about earlier on. During the marking of the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary Professor Edward Kisiangani, through Information Secretary Judy Munyenye, reaffirmed the government's commitment to the protection of press freedom, the safety of journalists, and the nurturing of an environment where the media thrives without fear. He actually said, let's quote him, "It is a worrying trend that out of these cases, 54 were physical assaults on journalists. Shockingly, 34 of these assaults were orchestrated by members of the public, whereas none of these perpetrators have been arrested." Exactly what we were talking about earlier on. None of this, most of these cases are rarely, we rarely see prosecutions to this, okay? So, Mr. Victor also did mention the Director of Public Prosecutions, that is Renson Ingonga, who also graced the Kenya Editors Guild event to commemorate that day. And there he promised to create a safe environment for journalists to operate. He said investigations and prosecution of crimes committed against journalists will be expedited. In fact, let's quote him, "I undertake to ensure that crimes against journalists are not only expeditiously prosecuted, but I also endeavor to hold those found culpable to account, no matter their stature in the society." Nakelo, are we seeing this on the ground?
Definitely not. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having the only four cases having ever been prosecuted in all the years that we've, that Media Council has been in operation. And for a country that really, boasts having a very progressive constitution and a very expansive Bill of Rights, this is really, it's just that we are really good on paper, but in real sense, we are broken. There's something that is definitely missing, because if we have very good laws, then how come we're not getting as many prosecutions, as many convictions as we should? And some of these cases that are caused by the public, for example, are actually perpetuated by the political leaders and other people, who are in places where they should be making statements that are tolerant. But when they charge them, because they have supporters, politics is very volatile, and people have their supporters, and they really believe in the things, or the statements that the politicians make. So if a politician says, the media is Githeri media, and even if sometimes you see the comments, say a journalist will say something that happened to them, or something that they encountered, say an attack in the field, and he'll post that on social media. But the responses, you can see it from the public, that the members of the public are actually losing confidence, and they're like, it serves you right, you're on your own. So instead of evoking outrage, instead of this perpetration of these violations making people, angry, they're just flowing. It's just like, they have been charged such that they believe that there's something probably that is not happening right, or that the media is not doing right.
And you've mentioned our leaders and our politicians, and I'll take you back to then Trade and Industry CS, Moses Kuria, now Public Service CS, because he did attack a media group in country using unprintable words that we cannot even use in this program right now, threatening to sack any state official who would place adverts with the media. Mr. Victor, this is for you. But what we saw from the President William Ruto later on, yes, he did defend the media, but also defended the CS. No, I'm not allowed to use that on air. You know
You'll be
what I wanted to
arrested.
say.
You'll be
But, I
arrested.
mean, where are we safe?
Now, the principle is, while there's no standard government statement that journalists must be attacked, I mean, it's not like it's a government policy that the government should be journalists should be attacked, and that's why when you are quoting your former statement by the chief, Information Secretary, Madam Judy Munyinyi, there's no stand. But state officers in their individual private capacities would perpetuate attacks against journalists, but it's not a government policy that they should attack journalists. I mean, you obviously know that a number of those people in government and who make those statements are media owners, so they never mean it. But like Akello said, once it's taken by supporters that even our leader has told that media is this, that people we should not respect, then it's obviously that tells you why in your statistics you see a number of goons or members of the public attacking the journalists. That is no longer now state officers who are the main perpetrators, but members of the public who now think, given that our leaders said media is useless, or if our leaders say this, then it's just good we attack them. So that, and then the other thing, because attacks are not just the physical attacks. We have, for example, if somebody denies you access to information, if somebody, for example, humiliates you, and when Akello was talking about, for example, the statistic about female, you notice that a number of female is things like body shaming, like trolling online. And those are threats again. And a number of them, because like when such statements like ni prostitution on Kimadi Street, you know, when somebody says such statements, then people think journalists are that, and which is wrong, obviously. So that discrediting, that's creating mistrust, that's creating makes threats, because then once you have been, for example, done that, then self-censorship starts. You will not feel free to go and do your work, and then kills journalism, because journalism thrives in an environment where journalists are respected, media products are respected. So that's what we are saying, that people must be cautious about how you treat, how you want to mobilize people against journalists. But in addition to those external threats, like those physical threats, body shaming, online, but there are also internal things that we must also talk about. That if also our media houses do not support their journalists, do not provide a safe newsroom working environment for journalists, then the threats also supersedes even the external ones, because we also have now a number of internal threats, journalists against journalists, editors against journalists, journalists against media houses, that also do not, because in most of these we must stand together as one profession, irrespective. I mean, you worked in another media house before you came here, and you might move, you never know. So when we start fighting media owner wars, and journalists forget that there are journalists who are just professional people giving service and they can work for any media house, then that's also, because we also see it in the field where mainstream media starts harassing community media journalists or local-based or correspondents. And I mean, we see that also a lot, that those of you who are working in the big 6 or big 7 think that people who work for community media or for local-based media are not journalists like you. Yet some of these people are your classmates. You're in the same class, just that they're working there, you're working here. So also those things we see even in our WhatsApp groups, journalistic WhatsApp groups, where a few journalists want to harass others, while we are the people who are supposed to be protecting freedom of expression. But more of our journalists are very extreme. They will never want to listen to another person. They think their opinion must always count. So we also see those in intra-media disputes, which is also dangerous for the profession.
You know what I like to say about that? I say we are one big office. You know, all of us, local media houses, international, just different branches.
That's exactly.
Because what I'm doing here and what I did at my previous work, it's pretty much the same.
The same.
It's one big office. You know, Akello, we have been accused as journalists of being extortionists. I don't want to say that loud. And I'm bringing it up because it came from a forum that the two of you were present at last week in Kisumu, on this day when we commemorated the International Day on Crimes Against Journalists. But the allegations of corruption, of bribery within us, that probably could be an excuse for people to treat us the way they do.
Well, yeah, and when we're talking about impunity, we rush to look for external sources about impunity from, state operatives, from, who and who. But we don't look inside, we don't look internally to see, where it starts from. Because I say, if, say, the public confidence in the media is eroding, and they're now losing confidence in journalists, there has to be a reason. And now we need to really, look deep in and see what are the reasons that are causing this. Because impunity, say, is not just attacks or this, even low pay or no pay at all, like we're seeing for some media houses. Journalists are going for months without pay. That in itself is impunity against the reporters who are working for them. So, if we are to handle these, we really need to handle it wholesome. We need to start internally and see what can we do, because we understand that, yeah, there are also challenges with media houses, because it also starts from the government when the revenues are choked and so the media houses are not making enough. But if you're having an employee who is working for you and you're expecting the employee to be professional as well, if you are to be professional, then there has to be a balance. So the allegations of bribery come in, there are cases, and even people, the people we talk to, people in authority, do complain about some journalists, asking for, just directly asking for money. I mean, for me to publish this story, you have to give me something. Ama unaniacha aje, ya chai, ya macho, something, which shouldn't be. We should reclaim the noble profession. And sometimes it's not just ya chai, ya macho. Sometimes they really come with allegation. We are going to publish this information if you do not give us this. So we want, we've had this, and probably they've not even had, they're just coming up with this. And people are scared of the media. People do not want negative publicity. Say if you're running a business and you've had a journalist approaches you with negative publicity, then you really want to. So I think internally where we should start is pay journalists first. At least take care of the people. And we have labor laws that take care of that as well. So if we're seeing the rule of law, we need to really implement every bit of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we take a break at this point, on to the point. I like that. We come back with Isaiah Gwengi of Standard Group, Kelechi Emekalam from Nigeria, and Kanari Mugume from Uganda. Let's take that break. Stay with us.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the Home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa, kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Jiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai.
John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma. Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu viongozi mbalimbali kutoka humu nchini, kuanzia wabunge.
Through Changa, we could get money to pay our rent, pay our bills.
When I was growing up, water was a problem where I was born and bred. We wake up at 3 to go and look for water.
Magavana
must be ready to be a tough woman and not a woman to be walked over.
Kwa hivyo
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. We carry on with our conversation and to the point tonight on the safety of us, the safety of my colleagues and I, the safety of journalists, with Mr. Why do I keep mixing that up? Mr. Victor Bwire, Director, Media Training and Development, MCK, Akelo Odonyo, Secretary General, Crime Journalists Association of Kenya. We'll be joined shortly by Isaiah Gwengi, a journalist with the Standard Media Group, Kelechi Emekalama, a journalist from Nigeria, and Kanari Mugume, a journalist from Uganda. And we still have to the point, because I want us to look at some numbers, and we're crossing borders now to Uganda, and we're having this, of course, because of Mr. Kanari Mugume. Now, here are the numbers. So 2 journalists have been killed between 1992 and 2017. This is according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. That is in 2017. Now, a total of 113 cases of media freedom attacks were reported in Uganda in 2016. At least 45 of these cases were arrests and detentions. 27 cases were related to assault, while 11 cases involved blocking access to information. Now, this is according to ResearchGate, authored by Florence Namasinga Selnes and Gerald Walulia, both of the Makerere University in Uganda. Of course, Mr. Kanari shall react to this later on when he joins us. But let's head over to Nigeria now and take a look at the numbers, because at least 19 journalists have been killed over the years. However, no one has ever been charged with any crime for such attacks or punished for such offenses. This is according to Media Rights Agenda in Nigeria. That almost sounds, not even almost, it's similar to us here in Kenya. Now, again, as the world marked the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists on November the 2nd, Media Rights Agenda Executive Director this is a mouthful, Edetian Ojo, in Nigeria, he said, and I quote, "Nigeria appears to be suggesting that attacking or killing journalists is acceptable and will attract no consequences." Now, still in Nigeria, and Action Aid Nigeria says that this year, 2023, marked a significant general election, which of course it did, during which at least 14 journalists and media workers faced unlawful detention, harassment, or physical assaults while covering Nigeria's presidential and federal elections. Days leading up to the polls were marred by further incidents, including attacks and unjust denial of access for journalists covering election preparations. Now, Action Aid demands that President Ahmed Tinubu Bola and all state governors take a bold step to order immediate, thorough, and transparent investigations into these incidents with a fervent call for accountability, And at this point, we have Kelechi Emekalam. Kelechi, good evening. It's what? It's 8 p.m. in Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Yes, it is. 806. 806 precisely.
806 to be precise. I like that, Kelechi. Thank you so much for joining. I mean,
thank you for having me.
It looks like it's not different. It's not any different from the situation here in Kenya, in Nigeria, is it?
Absolutely, you are very correct. The case isn't much different from what's obtained in Kenya and even other, parts of Africa. Here in Nigeria, like you mentioned, we have cases of journalists who have suffered great losses, who have been beaten, who have been maimed, been assaulted, arrested, and even in some cases who've lost their lives in the course of doing their jobs. Now, a good example, like you mentioned, is the recent elections, which many had reported was fraught with irregularities and violence. And as the Action Aid had reported, about 14 newsmen were unlawfully detained earlier this year during that elections. Now, the role, let me just go back to the role as that journalists play in the society as the fourth estate of the realm and the watchdogs is pivotal to nation building. It's pivotal to accountability, to transparency and all of that. And those who are averse to these positives because of their personal gains, their personal aggrandizements, they would urge towards doing anything to ensure that the truth isn't uncovered. Secondly, a good percentage of news organizations are owned and run by those who are or have been in the corridors of power. So sadly, what happens as a journalist most times here is that you have to, play to the galleries in your reportage. Another worrying trend is that you would be used as a tool to battle the opposition of your master, who happens to be, paying the piper. And if you choose not to, you are pinned down for your journey to job loss. So to say. Now, this is not to say that there are no independent organizations who stand for the truth, but what we have sometimes, even those organizations who stand for the truth, the regulatory agencies who are under government control, they like the broadcast, especially for the broadcast media, they come breathing down your necks. Now, the attacks are from everywhere, from poor remuneration. As we speak, there are journalists who go home with far less than $100 every month, and with emphasis on far less. This is a nation in an economy today where food inflation is on the rise. You go to the market, you can't even, if you take $100 to the market, you can't buy anything. Right. You can't fill up your basket. So these are the challenges that we face as journalists. So it's quite a daunting task, executing your task as a journalist here, keeping up with accountability, keeping up with good governance and all of that. So, it's a problem, yeah.
Sure. There is a very heavy statement, in my opinion, from the Media Rights Agenda Executive Director, please help me with his name, Kelechi Ojo, Mr. Ojo, Edetayan, my goodness. I feel like I'm massacring the name. So he said Nigeria appears to be suggesting that attacking or killing journalists is acceptable and will attract no consequences. That's pretty heavy, Kelechi.
It is heavy, and it's an indictment on the part of the state actors. When we see a situation where people are being maimed, people are being killed, journalists are being attacked, and nobody is brought to book. I mean, no, we don't find the perpetrators. We don't find investigations ongoing to arrest, to put this menace in check. And sometimes you even find out that the state actors are sometimes responsible for some of these actions, and just to say on the side. But then it's a sad situation that we have here, and until we begin to tackle, state actors must take responsibility, because journalists are citizens as well. Mm-hmm. We are doing our jobs, we are executing the tasks that have been given to us, and so we have to be, taken care of as well. Right. And if in the event that this doesn't happen, we're just edging towards a chaotic situation in our country.
Right. Kelechi, my last question to you would be your experience as a female journalist in Nigeria, because I don't know why we are targeted as female journalists. I mean, earlier on, we had statistics indicating that 73% of women journalists that were surveyed in that, survey by UNESCO have experienced online violence, a form of online violence.
Well, I would say that I've had, a few of my experiences and some of my colleagues as well, female colleagues who've had experiences in the course of doing our jobs. I recall once that I had to actually leave a workplace, a place I had worked before, because the environment was very toxic. It wasn't a conducive environment for me to work in. I wasn't, I wasn't flourishing there. I had a male boss who was just being very antagonistic for whatever reasons that were, that he deemed fit. But I've also had, female colleagues who come forth and share their experiences, sexual harassment in workplaces, and then, we don't get paid as much as the male colleagues.
Right.
Well, that was before, but then we're trying to correct that trend.
Right.
And so many other incidences. So we find ourselves in situations where it's quite dicey, and we're just thriving to make sure that we do our part in society to make things work.
Right.
And it behoves on government and other key players to help us to do our jobs, to make sure that there's a level playing ground, there's a conducive environment for us to thrive as journalists, not just female journalists, male journalists as well,
right?
Because they're also being attacked,
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelechi Emekalam, a journalist. They're joining us all the way from Nigeria. Thank you so much, Kelechi. As always, this is the second time you're gracing our show. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time and your contribution, Kelechi. Okay. Do we have Mr. Isaiah Gwenge?
Yes, I'm in.
Oh, great. Isaiah, karibu sana. Thank you for joining us. He is a journalist from the Standard Media Group. Isaiah, I want us to quickly, as briefly as possible, get your story, your experience in regards to our topic today.
Okay, good evening, Grace. Good evening to Victor and Akelo. Actually, I've had two experiences. One happened in 2017 on 22nd of March. Then the second one happened in July 7th. That was on Sabasaba.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, the two incidences happened in the hands of police officers. The first incident, which happened in 2017, happened at night. Actually, when no one was there to witness what was happening. And I was attacked by around 7 police officers who were armed, and I was tortured for more than 4 hours before I was taken to a police cell. Actually, at the police cell, there was nothing to be charged with.
Mm-hmm.
That was the saddest part of it, because I was arrested alongside human rights activists. We were tortured for around 4 hours. We were taken to the police cell where we were to be booked, but there was nothing to charge us with.
Mm-hmm.
So we were freed the following morning. The second incident happened when I was covering the Sabasaba demonstrations in Bondo town. In the morning, that morning I was at the police station, the same police station, covering a shooting incident where a police officer shot himself and also shot the wife. So I was there in the morning to cover the incident. Then after that, I went to file my story before the demonstration started. So when I joined, and I was now, I'd finished filing my story, I was now in the field to cover the demonstration. That's when I was attacked by around 10 police officers who were led by an OCS. So the two incidences, the first incident, I made a report. I gave my statements. My case was picked by IPOA and the National Police Service. But to date, I think we only got the progress of our case in May this year. That's when we were told that our file had been forwarded to the ODPP. They had done their work, and finally they had completed the case, and there were 2 recommendations. And as we speak, I've never seen those recommendations, because the IPOA guys, they only told us about the recommendations. They are the ones who have the file.
Right.
But we have never seen that file. So access, because investigations were being done on us, but we've not been able to get that file to see what the 2 recommendations.
Isaiah, I'm curious about what these 2 really unfortunate incidents, which most definitely should not have happened, did to you psychologically, sir. I mean, to you, to your family, your spouse, your children.
The first incident happened when my second born, I have 3 children. Actually, my second born was around 2 years old when this incident happened. So he has been growing up hearing about these stories of what happened to me. Because when I was arrested, no one knew where I was. No one knew where I was taken. No one knew what happened to me. So by that time, my wife was we were expecting our 3rd born. So up to that time, my wife heard about it, I think towards midnight. That's when she heard about it, but she had to come to the police station the following morning. So so it really affected my family in a way, because to date, I've realized that my boy, whenever he sees a police officer, then he becomes a bit afraid of the police officers, maybe from the stories that he heard about what happened to me.
Right.
Then also psychologically, from that incident, anytime I hear something that like a bang, then I get scared. Like when somebody drops something, like even a spoon, then I get scared.
Right.
Because when this incident happened, I didn't get enough trauma counseling. So it's something that has been affecting me, because I also avoided, since that day, I've been avoiding to go out, either to late in the night.
Right.
I always get home by 7, I'm always at home.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Isaiah Gwenge. Really unfortunate there. I shall give Mr. Victor and Madam Akello a chance to, react to that and what he's talking about not receiving trauma counseling. We shall get to that, but I want us to wrap up with this first. Thank you, Isaiah, for your time, for your contribution. We do appreciate it, okay? So, still on attacks against journalists. Now, this next one is heartbreaking. It happened on Kenyan soil. You might remember it. A Pakistani journalist, Arshad Sharif, was killed on October the 23rd, 2022, when the car he was in with another Pakistani man sped up and drove through a roadblock checkpoint outside the Kenyan capital in Kajiado, to be precise. We shall again talk about that. But there are more deaths because, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, the Israel-Palestine war had, as of November 3rd, that's on Friday, claimed the lives of 36 journalists, 36, and media workers. Of the 36, 31 are Palestinian, 4 Israeli, and 1 Lebanese. Now, 8 journalists were reported injured, 3 journalists were reported missing. 8 journalists were reported arrested. There have been multiple assaults, threats, cyber attacks, censorships, and killings of family members. That's it, yeah? And this data, once again, is from the Committee to Protect Journalists. Mr. Victor, I mean, why all this? There's so much you have to react to with so little time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we are talking about, the solidarity. Because we are now talking about when we have developed safety charters, media houses have signed, editors, media owners. We have done national safety mechanisms. We have done safety guidelines, books, charters. We have done training for journalists. We have done trauma counseling. But like we are saying, some of these things also come slow. Like if, for example, we were to give you even safety gear, it's a requirement by the law that you can't keep a bulletproof jacket, you can't keep those bulletproof. So those things must be addressed. I mean, the issue of labor laws, occupational health. See, there are things that are very basic that you go to work. Some of you work right now is 10. How do you go home? You know, some of our employers don't even care about some of those things. People say, I mean...
Okay, I must say there's transport here. At TV47, there's transport for us.
Thank you.
I had to say that.
Thanks. I mean, in some stations, I was asking, we were just joking before we come here, what is safety even access to newsroom? In some of the newsroom, somebody can walk in and walk out without, you know, there are very basic safety measures that we need just to look at. Our labor laws, if our employers were following the labor laws, employ journalists, occupational health, pay them, get them insurances when they're going to work. You know, those are basic labor laws. But the impunity thing we talk about, that you will employ somebody, you not pay, you not give them a safe and working environment, and nothing happens. It's one of the things we are addressing, and meetings have been held, discussions are being held. Some media houses do not even allow their journalists to belong to unions or associations, you know. And yet we are the people who write about right of others to associate to do. So some of these things are very basic things, but they have huge implications.
Right.
We now have a safety fund. I mean, if somebody told you we have safe houses for journalists in Kenya, you will not believe, because Kenya is not at war. But these things are happening. So we must...
We have that?
I mean... We have journalists who have had to leave this country. Where is Spirit Mwambia, for example? Has anybody bothered to know where he went? I mean, there are people like Ami Ombara, who was a bureau chief of Standard. So
like
these things
John
happen.
Allen and Muhammad Ali.
I mean, you have seen. So these things happen, but we are in denial. We say Kenya is at peace, those things don't happen. But these numbers are happening. At local level, at the county level, look at what is happening in Baringo. I've just shared with you another one. In 2 days' time, Baringo, journalists have gone through hell. The Ken Ruto you mentioned. Now yesterday again, another journalist was mishandled in Baringo and other areas, I mean, in other towns. So these things are happening. In Garissa, there was a journalist who was summoned by the anti-terrorism police unit 3 days ago. So these things are happening, and we must reach a stage and say, you know, but media houses have also done well. A number of media houses have started trauma counseling for their journalists. If somebody wanted that help, they are doing it. Some media houses have started safety training for journalists. I know a number of media houses have those protection gear, the bulletproof and the rest. A number of things happen, but we need consolidated efforts. We need to raise these things at a bar, because some of these questions are being asked to Kenya at the Human Rights Council. The UNESCO has been writing to Kenya to want to know out of some of these investigations. Under the SDG 16A, safety and security, we have been writing reports, and a number of gaps have existed. So it would help us. The killing of that Pakistani journalist in Kenya made Kenya to drop in the ranking from number 69 to 119 in a year.
19, not even 16.
And I mean, number 116.
116
just the
killing
of, yes, after just one.
That's
and you can
terrible.
see the huge implication. So if we are talking about creating an environment where investors should come in Kenya, at the same time we are doing or allowing one incident that will create us to cancel all the gains we have made.
Right.
Then
but sir, what more should or is MCK doing? Because part of your mandate is to ensure the protection of our rights and privileges as journalists, yeah? You have made statements, you have written letters, you did say that. But at the same meeting you were in Kisumu last week, sir, you were urged to write more of these cases to the office of the DPP.
We have done a lot. We have supported cases to court. Some of the cases it just takes long, and we have given rapid response. We have taken journalists to hospital. We have replaced cameras, working equipment. We have done trainings for journalists, guidelines for, there's a media support fund where journalists who are in trouble are helped. We have relocated journalists from one area of the country to another in safe hiding for quite some time.
What more do you intend to do?
But what is not happening, and we are is the prosecution. I told you there are 3 P's: promotion, protection, and promotion. We have done well in the protection and promotion, but prosecution, and we are not prosecutors ourselves. So that's why the discussion, the dialogue must be with the ODPP, with the Inspector General of Police, that something must be done.
Right.
And that's the engagement we have, and that's why we invited them. While the ODPP was at the Kenya Media Sector, we had the Assistant Director of Prosecution in Kisumu, and the discussion is we have agreed to fast track some of those cases, and we give ourselves a time frame that we must review and see what has happened.
Right, and it's a good thing you actually did that, because some of these people, it's kind of hard to get them on such a show like this one. So you did well in getting them, and of course the Kenya Editors Guild as well. Madam Akello, trauma counseling, because Isaiah there is saying that he did not have that, does SIGAC, is it SIGAC? Yes, SIGAC help its journalists in terms of this? Like, do you provide any form of counseling for your journalists?
SIGAC on its own does not provide the counseling, but we do partner with other organizations to, like International Justice Mission, who help in counseling journalists. And it's not just journalists who report on crime or who are members of the Crime Journalists Association of Kenya. It's journalists from everywhere. And I'm actually surprised when Mr. Bwire here says that, there are media houses that provide trauma counseling for their journalists. Because every time we get journalists for that, we do it quarterly, none of them has ever gone for any sort of counseling. None of them. They tell us, we resort to alcohol or other forms of, letting off. But I think media houses can start small, and they can start there, just by providing mental wellness for their journalists. Right. Because that is the basic that you just need as a journalist going in the field. You just know that there's support. You can go back and you know that you will get help.
Right. And you've reminded of me something. It actually skipped my mind. Kevin, please let's have this. The tweet, the snapshot there. I had totally forgotten it, okay? My colleague, Sadiq Shaban, you can see it's on your screen there. On that day, November the 2nd, he did write that MCK must adopt inclusivity and unity. Locking out international journalists who equally bear the brand of impunity from this event is divisive and counterproductive. What do you have to say for yourself?
Working for a public institution, I was also told that you will never satisfy everybody. And sometimes...
But there was no international journalist there, not even one.
Where wasn't he?
On that panel.
How much does he relate? Some of these things are not as easy. And it's so easy for you. What did you go through to get us here in this panel? It's not that you just wake up and got us here. You take time to organize such an event and ask her. We write. Some of these things is interest. And we write to people to interest them. People know that every 2nd of November is International Day for Impunity. People know 3rd of May is World Press Freedom Day.
Yes.
They must also show interest in some of these. Not just wait for people to come and bring them into panels.
All right.
They must show interest.
Okay, Sadiq, there you go. 30 seconds each, please. Closing remarks. Akello, I'll start with you. 30 seconds.
When we're having this conversation, let us have a solution-based discussion. Let us also think about what are we going to do going forward. It's also very good that we're having this discussion because journalists we do not cover issues that affect journalists as much. So if we can give more, coverage for issues that actually affect journalists and give them, extensively, cover it extensively and also offer solutions.
Right.
That will be my closing.
We're completely out of time. 30 seconds, sir, please.
No, it's fine. And the international media must know we support international media, and you can ask Kennedy Wandera that we have related with them and given them support.
He's my
and
friend.
we can never reach everybody. But the conversation must continue. And I also want to urge you to frequently bring such discussion on your shows.
And please come.
This is
when
why
we
we can create awareness among some of these things.
You promise to come when we call you?
I have never missed any show.
That's a promise on national television live.
Because that's the work the Kenya payers pay me to do. So why would I refuse?
Most definitely. Asante. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor Bure, Director, Media Training and Development at MCK. Akelo Donyo, Secretary General, Crime, Journalists Association of Kenya. Isaiah Gwengi, journalist from the Standard Media Group. Kelechi Emekalam, journalist from Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. I do appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time and your company, okay? Thank you to the entire crew that made this production a success. My name is Grace Kuriakanja. Do have yourselves a lovely night.